So hello everybody. This video is for getting started with Guess the Number project. So it's just an overview. It's not all the code or anything, but it's just an overview of what we need. So let's take a look at the requirements. So similar to the first project, this project also uses the random module in Python. The program will first randomly generate a number unknown to the user. The user needs to guess what the number is. In other words, the user needs to be able to input information. If the user's guess is wrong, the program should return some sort of indication as to how wrong. For example, the number is too high or the number is too low, something along those lines, so they know which direction they should try their next guess. If the user guesses correctly, a positive indication should appear. You'll need functions to check if the user's input is in the actual number. If you see to see the difference between the inputted number and the randomly generated number, and then compare the two numbers. So you're going to use a conditional statement. If the input is equal to the randomly generated number, they got it correct. If it's less than the randomly generated number, you'll just say this is too low. If it's greater than the randomly generated number, the guess, you'll say this is you're too high. So you're just going to give some input so they know what type of guess that they're going to do next. All right, and it tells you what you're going to use: a random function, variables, integers, input, output. Like remember, print is part of the is an output command. While loops and if and else if statements. So let's start off. Well, first we'll need a random function. So you're going to have to do what we did in the other one. Is you have to import random. You'll have to set a variable rand equals, or it could be anything you want. You can call it number. Say number equals random.rand int, and then in this case you put a 1 comma. Let's say we want to do a random number between 1 and 100, and it's always good. Let's go from 1 to 100 for this particular exercise. It could be any range. 1 to 100 works. It's not doesn't take too long to get, and it's not too short. So you're going to need something along those lines. And then what variables will we need? Okay, so what variables? Well, we need the guess. Well, whatever their guess is. Well, first we already have a variable for the random number being generated. So that's one. So variables we'll need. We already have number for the random number. We're going to need a guess. This is for the user's guess. So we'll call it guess. Why not, right? So we'll need those two. And then, of course, if their guess is not correct, it's going to go back through and try again. So with that in mind, we'll need a while statement. All right, so let's go down here. Integers. Well, the number is going to be an integer, rand int, which means it'll be an integer between 1 and 100. So we need input, right? So we need to ask the user what their number is. So we start off with importing random. We set a random number, and now I also like to count how many times somebody guesses. So in the output at the end of the game, the program, I put in how many guesses there were. So I would have a variable called tries, and that's going to be to count the number of guesses. Okay, that's what I would use. So those are the variables we have the number that we're going to generate, we have a guess that we're going to create, that we're going to test against the number, we have the number of tries, so we're going to increment that, we're going to keep counting that, and of course we need to, for input, we need to input the question, what is your guess, or something along those lines. So we'll need to input something along the lines of what. Well, first we will probably want to print out, not probably, we want to print something along the lines of please guess the number, a number from 1 to 100. Okay, so that'd be the first thing we want to do. Please guess the number from 1 to 100, and then we're going to figure out what their guess is. So guess is going to be, we're going to use the input, and in the input we're going to say, what is your guess? Again, this is not all the exact code, but it gives you kind of an outline of what you have to do in the order you need to do it. So after we input what the guess is, we're going to have a while loop. While guess is not equal to the number. Remember, while loops have to be invented. We're going to check if the guess is greater than the number. We're going to print out something like your guess is too high. Okay, something along those lines. Remember, this isn't all the right syntax. And then you're going to do an else if, ELIF for else if, and then you say guess is less than number. We're going to print out, again, something along the lines of your guess is too low, something along those lines. And then inside the while loop, you want to increment the add 1 to the tries variable. And then, so if it's too high or too low, so if they go in here, you know it's too high or too low. So the other thing, next thing you want to do is you want to ask them to guess it again. So you need to do the same thing you did up here. You need to ask what their guess is. Remember, you need to assign this to a variable and not make sure that's an integer. So again, there's other videos that I've uploaded that show you how to do that. So now you're going to ask to input again, what is your guess? And since we're in a loop, it's going to come back up here and you're going to say if the guess is not equal to the number, then it's going to go back through and print one of these two statements out. It's going to increment tries. If it is equal, it kicks out of the loop, and then it's going to print. At this point, you're going to print, something like great job, you guessed it. The number of tries was, something like that. Great job, you guessed it. So, and then you're going to put in the variable in here. Let's say maybe it was 5 times, 5 tries, but you're going to replace this with a variable called tries, this one you developed up here. So remember, you have to, how do you have to put all that together in one print statement? And if you don't remember, you could do 2 print statements. You could say, great job, you guessed it, and then underneath that you can just print out the number of tries. So anyways, that's will give you an idea on how to proceed. I hope that helps. I wanted to show you an example of what that may look like, so I hid my code here. So I'm going to run this, and it says, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. What is your guess? So I'm going to type in 50. It's right in the middle. It says your guess is too high. What is your new guess? Well, it's too high, so I'm going to go lower. So I'm going to go half of that, 25. Now it's too low, so I'm going to, maybe do 37. Now it's too high, so somewhere between 25 and 37. So let's do 30. It's too low, so 33. It's too high, 32. Great job, you guessed it. You guessed in 6 tries. The number was 32. Anyways, that's an example of what I wanted to show you. Happy programming. And if you remember some of the things I showed earlier, I didn't follow when I was putting this little demonstration together. I usually like to put a space in here so it reads easier. But anyways, happy programming.